Random encounters and world travel today on Dungeons and Taverns. Hi, I'm Saul Sunforge. This is Dungeons and Taverns, a place where you can come and get ttrpg advice whether you're a DM or a player. I also offer free character builds as well as free maps for dungeon masters to have for their entire campaign or just a region or just a continent. We also have a live play called the Dirty 20 where I play as the DM with my friends who live all across the United States. We play over Roll 20. Our campaign's called the Dirty 20. We've been going for about 4 years now. You can check out some of those old episodes, and I've recently been uploading the current episodes so you can get a look at where they were and where they're at now. I also occasionally play a few video games over here during my downtime if I happen to have any on accident. So if any of that stuff seems cool to you, then go ahead and give me a subscribe. And if not, then no problem. Maybe you have some friends who would be interested and let them know. Today's video is on world travel and specifically random encounters within that world travel. Now, world travel is somewhat of a mixed bag. I love it. I use it for its intended purposes, but I can see why it's a mixed bag. Generally, when people think of random encounters, they think of combat only incursions, and that's not really the case. Even if you think that way, random encounters can be friendly, they can be neutral. You could have a rival faction or a group. You can have random merchants. You can have random soldiers, peasantry. You can introduce any NPC that you wish to in the travel, and the party is going to encounter them because they're on the road that you place that NPC. Which you can do anytime you want, obviously, but it leaves you a lot of leeway where they're from, what they're doing, and this framework, and don't do it every time. I wouldn't suggest that, because then if you do something too much, it gets really boring and tedious, and people tend to not like it the more it's repeated. But you can use your random encounter situations as a framework or a template, if you wish, to guide you forward. You can introduce small little quests or lore or things like that with passing travelers or traders, or you can have a roving band of brigands. Anything that you wish to have, you can put into your random encounters, and they don't always have to be combat. Some of them could be combat, and indeed some of them have to be combat, unless you're playing a game where there's no combat. In that case, I don't understand why you'd be playing D&D. There's tons of games out there that have no combat that are role-playing centric. But, it's a good opportunity to set up your camps for your long rests overnight and set up your watches, and the party can role play around the campfire. Maybe they picked up an NPC straggler here or there who agreed to go with them, and that can be another tangent where you could just keep going off of your random encounters, through your world exploration process, and it just dynamically increases your world size. Even if you and yourself haven't designed the things yet, you can talk about places that you're going to design and places that the party may go to, or if you talk about them frequent enough, they'll remember the location and then they'll start to want to go there. And so you can use all these things as framing works for what is to come. So you're basically setting yourself up to succeed by using your random encounters properly. You shouldn't do combat, because combat already takes the longest by far, in my estimation, than anything else that you can do. So don't do just combats. What I do for combat is I roll a dice, and then sometimes I'll have opposing dice that I'll roll against each other, or sometimes I'll have the party roll their dice. Whoever's the party lead at that time, whoever's leading the exploration, according to if combat or something did break out, who would be the first one to be able to get in there. And so I have them roll against me, and if the rolls are exactly the same, I give them the advantage. And if I beat them by so much, then you can set the rolls however you want to. But usually, if it's a dangerous area and I beat them by 2 or more, it's going to be for sure. It's going to be a combat encounter. If they beat me by 2 or more, then almost for sure give them I'll give them a merchant that they want, and then I'll almost for sure give them an item that they've specifically mentioned that they wanted, or I'll give that merchant the knowledge to give the party to find that item in exchange for their help, or let me sit by your campfire overnight. Do you mind if I share a meal with you? Things like that. Just simple things. And, they're things that maybe you were going to introduce later on through a different means, or maybe not. But your world exploration is a really great place, I feel, to introduce absolutely anything that you want. New towns, new locations, new continents, treasure, buried stuff, archaeological digs, what's going on in the swamp. There's so many things. Why is this forest? Why are the trees coming to life? Why are they trying to trip us up and tangle us? There's just so many things. You're traveling. You make mention. Oh, you passed by a looks like some type of hut in the woods. It's kind of far back into the woods, but the trees are kind of sparse in an area, and you could give the person that has the highest passive perception that little bit of knowledge that there's a little hut in the woods, and it seems a little bit out of place. They might come back to it later. You don't know. They may explore it right then and there, and that's where your improv comes in. But DMing is really all just a series of improv. Really, you could write down some notes, but do you want to write down the dialogue for every single person and all the possibilities of that dialogue for every single person? No, you don't. We're making a dynamic product here. This isn't static. You don't want to come up with canned responses to anything your players do. You kind of want to think about it on the fly. And I suggest for you to, and if you have a hard time with that, to go ahead and make a list of maybe 10 possibilities for what they're going to do on the road. Whether they're waylaid by bandits, whether their campfire, they're surrounded, whether the night is completely uneventful, whether weather changes, things like that. You can go as far as you want with it, but I would go ahead and list out at least five minimum, but 10 would be great, so you don't have to always do it. And just really think about what it is that you are intending for the players to encounter. The tighter you make the list, the more dynamic you'll be able to make those events, because you'll be able to create your maps and things like that for those 10 things already before they even happen, right? So whenever you need them, they're there for you. You already prepped them. They're good to go. And in some cases, you don't even need to make a map, of where the random camp is going to be. Or you could do like I do and make the random campfire and things like that, but in like 5 or 6 different backgrounds, and then just have that be your scene for night or day or whatever you want. And it doesn't take too much work, really. I use Incarnate to make my maps, so really you can just change the color, the overlay features of what the map looks like, whether it's dark, bright, things like that. But you don't have to do all that work even. Just write down a few scenarios and then see what the players come up with off of those scenarios. If you pay attention to your players, they'll show you what they're interested in. And then you could create stuff off of what they're interested in. Expand it using your own ideas and create something unique. That's all I have for today. Saul Sunforge for Dungeons and Taverns. If you enjoy this video, give me a subscribe. I'm about to go out and DoorDash. Take care of yourselves. Have a great day.